Teresa and I were introduced, which is so kind to have done. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about civility, which you don't even think about, but it actually went back to the handshake. And so I wanted to read what I have about the handshake. It's one of the first known acts of civility is the handshake, which existed in some form or another for thousands of years. And they know this because of the old ruins of Babylon times and so forth. They pull up the sculptures and they have the gentleman shaking hands. One theory is the gesture began as a way of conveying peace and good intentions. By extending their empty right hand, strangers could show that they were not holding weapons or bore no ill will toward one another. Some even suggest that the up and down motion of the handshake is so that if they're hiding any knives or daggers, they would fall out. So I thought it was pretty interesting. But anyway, yet another explanation is that the handshake was a symbol of good faith when making an oath or promise. When they clasped hands, people showed that their word was a sacred bond. And handshake is made after agreement, even in times today. Baseball players will shake hands before the game. Little League, we shake hands. A lot of women don't shake hands, but the fist bump has got to go. Because that's not a real,
They might still have their weapons on them.
Yeah. So one of the handouts that you got, and we just thought this was kind of interesting. George Washington was at some age before 16. He hand copied 110 rules of civility. They are based on a set of rules composed by the French Jesuits in 1595. We have on your sheet there a copy of now he did 110, but you'll only see the first 10. And you can see where they're all really true today. They kind of just about being respectful to one another, thoughtful, and so forth. And then the other copy alongside of it is more of a modern day one, and all of them are in line today. And then I thought I got a kick out of it because the last one on number 9 was don't be a party pooper. And so when I was showing it to Teresa, she goes, "Is that really what George Washington said?" But anyway, I think that's a pretty good one. So anyway, Teresa's going to talk about her skit.
Okay, just to let you know a little bit of our format. First, we're going to have a skit, sort of maybe dramatizing some issues you may have seen in your clubs. Then we'll do our PowerPoint presentation, which most of it came from some SIA presentations, so some of you may have seen something similar before. And then after we go through what SIA has recommended on this subject, we'll do sort of a resolution skit. And then finally, after we get through that, we'll have you break into 4 groups, and we have 4 questions for each group will take a question, and we'll get your individual expertise because we have a lot of leaders in this room, and so I'm sure you all have ideas as well. So with that ado, we will do our skit.
Actually, Teresa's a very good actress. I was really impressed.
Actually, I just have a cantankerous personality, so it comes out.
So we're not going to use the mic.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect. Okay. Because I can't read and hold mics. Okay.
Hi, Ray. I wanted to thank you so much for handling the annual banquet this year. I was out sick, but I'm back now. So I'll take over from here.
Oh, well, Teresa, our committee's put a lot of work into this. Okay, our committee's put a lot of work into this, and everything is already set to go. We decided to go with a casual barbecue. The theme with the club members in bringing potluck dishes, and we thought, well, we could really cut our costs down by going this way.
Whoa. Barbecue? I ran this event for 15 years, and we always had it catered. I mean, my cousin is one of the best caterers in this area. I mean, people come for her And she makes the best cupcakes that are gluten-free, lactose-free, nut-free. It's one of the few things I can eat. Did you even think about people's dietary restrictions?
Well, of course we considered your restrictions, and we have a lot of different potluck dishes that are coming in with you in mind. So, you know, it's just, at this point, Teresa, it's just too late to change the
Well,
menu.
obviously, the newer members have no respect for tradition. I don't think I'm even gonna come.
Oh, Teresa. I think she might be a problem in her.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay, so you may have noted issues with attitude, not being flexible, not asking, not listening, just a lot of attitude, both in what was said, but in also how it was said. So that will lead us into our slide presentation.
Okay, well again, thank you for attending, and are you ready to play ball?
Yes.
Woo-hoo!
Okay, where'd the microphone go?
Okay, this morning we're going to review a big issue facing our clubs, and let's face it, the world as a whole. How to work cooperatively to achieve our goals.
Why, thank you, Teresa. And hello to our wonderful SNR members and guests. As you can see from the slide
And our shirts.
and our shirts, we are two walking billboards. There is common definition for the word civility, but how do we put it into practice and why is it so important?
Who have left their clubs, and the number one issue has been conflict or uncivility within their clubs. So obviously this is affecting the entire organization.
So what is civility? Main takeaway, maintaining respect, even when we disagree. Have you ever had a disagreement in your club? Anybody ever had a disagreement in their club?
Raise your hands.
Okay, it's an issue we all encounter.
Can someone in the background, I thought I heard someone trying to come in. Did I? Sure that?
Yeah, I was just gonna do that.
Thank you. So how do we maintain civil discourse? Here's a few reminders, and as we can see, it's not just about the words we use, but the way we say things. A lot of it has to do with our nonverbal communication.
In our skit, we just tried to show you what uncivil behavior looks like. Now let's examine what civil behavior looks like. First, humanitarianism. The foundation of all civil interactions is the recognition, both inwardly and outwardly, of the dignity and humanity of others. Next is respect. Expressions of mutual respect exchanged between individuals or groups are essential to the practice of civility. Intentionality. Because civility may not be a natural response in certain social situations, such as when someone makes rude or insulting comments, civility often requires the intentional decision to maintain a civil behavior. Restraint. Civility often requires restraint, specifically the ability to control negative and emotional reactions. Responsibility. In a civil interaction, people take responsibility for their behavior by, for example, recognizing, self-correcting, and apologizing for one's own inappropriate or disrespectful behavior. So you need to own it. Sharing. When participants in a group dialogue actively or process share their personal stories, it helps others develop a stronger understanding and appreciation of how those experiences have shaped their values, priorities, or perspectives, particularly when participants come from different backgrounds. I'm still going. Kindness.
This is our longest slide.
Yeah, I'll be done in a minute. Kindness. While kindness is not required for civility, acts of kindness, such as outward expressions of caring, concern, or compassion, tend to encourage more civil interactions and diffuse uncivil behaviors. Mutuality. The exchange of mutual respect among individuals and groups is essential for maintaining civil interactions.
Okay, so SIA has some guiding principles for us. The first is trust. Respect, grace, communication, teamwork. Okay, so some of these guardrails are intended to avoid incivility and to set standards like the Soroptimist guiding principles. By having them at a club level code of conduct and involving everyone in developing that club level code of conduct, that way you can get member involvement, and it's all about being focused on our Soroptimist mission. Also, if you see something, do something. Address the people who are instigating incivility. Ignoring the behavior will not fix it. While civility is far more than just being nice, encourage niceties, because being nice leads to civility. Finally, practice, encourage, and promote civility by leading by example and having conversations like the one we're having today. So, you love math? This slide came from SIA, and I kind of got a chuckle out of it because, you know, you can find an entire section of your bookstore devoted to how to resolve conflict and healing relationships. I mean, it's not just a problem in our clubs, it's throughout everything in our lives. And they said, well, here's like a simple formula that you can use. It's, you know, break it down into something simple that you can remember in the moment during that point of conflict. And so as you can see up here, what you're trying to reach is verbal cheat. And when I saw this slide, I was like, what the heck is verbal cheat? Well, the term derives from a Bruce Lee martial arts style called Jeet Kune Do, which roughly translates into the way of intercepting the fist. I'll repeat that. It translates the way of intercepting the fist. And when I saw this, I thought, my goodness, we must have some real problems in our clubs if we're resorting to Kung Fu.
I had to block it because she was coming.
Yeah. So, but really what they're trying to get to is that the best way to solve a conflict is to avoid having a conflict and to take those steps when you start seeing it coming down the pike.
Did I miss a slide for you? Oh, yeah. There we go.
That is not easy to do.
Which one? Did I skip something? Yeah.
I think it was just the formula slide.
I don't know where it went. Okay. We'll just move right along here.
Well, actually, Teresa talked about trust and it's the one about trust and respect. Here we are.
there was, we'll just pick it from here, okay? So the first one is trust, which is not there, but pretend. It's where members will agree to foster an environment of trust by having honest, transparent, and respectful conversations. And here are some examples of what it might look like. And then that's where,
Oh, love it there. I don't think we're there yet. I think that's fine.
We haven't talked there yet.
Okay, getting back to emotional intelligence.
I'm so sorry.
No problem. So I'm not gonna read these definitions to you because I'm sure you can all read them. And the PowerPoint slides will be on our SDR website.
Good.
So again, one thing I would point out about some of these suggestions is a lot of it has to do with dealing with your own emotions, because you may not be able to control the other person. So you have to kind of make the decision to be the bigger one. Okay, I think we may have all heard something about conflict resolution in the past and the tips we've shared today, but how do we put some of it into real practice in our clubs? What might that look like? So now we're talking about trust.
Okie dokie.
so actually, I read about trust. Do you want me to repeat it?
Sure, you can never.
Okay, I'll start again.
We trust you.
Thank you, I appreciate all the help I can get. The first one is trust, where members will agree to foster an environment of trust by having honest, transparent, and respectful conversations. And here are some examples of what they might look like. And here is my trust slide. And I want to give you some examples. Where's my little trust slide? Is this it? It's hard to see sideways. But anyway, you can see the examples on the circle. You know, just believing in being responsible, code of honor, but all you can see that. And of course, like Teresa mentioned, these will be on our slide presentation that you can download.
Another key element, of course, is respect. And like the definition given here, it's not about hierarchy. Although we acknowledge the different duties within our clubs, it's about acknowledging the worth of each individual, because we all bring something different. After all, we're all volunteers. Can we remember that? Pat yourselves on the back. You are a volunteer, and it's our mission that drives our actions.
Perfect. The next is grace. Remember, where members will agree to show compassion to ourselves and others because they recognize we are all fallible. So it's not the prayer, it's just grace, being respectful of one another.
And of course, one of the keys is communication, where members will agree to speak with conviction, integrity, and honesty, and listen with humility. We see that communication, and just as important, how we communicate, is a key factor in civility that keeps coming up again and again and again.
And I hear
And I'm sorry, that's my cell phone because my family's been calling all morning to say happy birthday. I didn't turn it off.
Happy birthday!
I apologize, but it was a nice little song. The next is teamwork, is where members will agree to be collaborative and work together. And then, of course, you can see the slide on teamwork.
And then, I think this might be one of our, no, we've got a couple more. Leadership is where members acknowledge each member is a leader, and that leadership is not limited to those in the formal positions of power. And I would just note, as an aside, I recently attended a membership workshop at the SIA convention, And they actually recommended one way to keep newer members is really to encourage them and get them engaged early on and encourage them to take on positions of leadership. So it's not just about civility, it's about keeping people in our clubs.
Okay, the next is diversity, is where members agree that the best decisions are made when diverse voices are empowered to speak freely, and agree to reject all discriminatory behaviors towards any individual or group.
And then next is our inclusion. And inclusion is where members agree to be committed to inclusion. And one thing I wanted to point out about this slide is the last sentence. You'll see it's not just about within our clubs, it's about our interactions with the community. And we really need to remember to be civil, inclusive, and encourage diversity in our community interactions so that we never lose focus. It's really about the women and the girls we help.
Next, agility and innovation is when members agree to regularly monitor and evaluate what works well and what does not. Be open-minded.
And then decentralization is when members agree to share information in order to succeed or fail together. And as noted previously, engaging new members is a way to keep your clubs growing. And as another personal side, when you have one person running the same thing for years on end, if that person leaves, even if it's not of their own choosing, you may have a big gap. So cross-training people in your clubs, it's not only a way of keeping them engaged and being civil, but it might also just help with continuity of your programs.
Okay. We've touched on a few ideas and key principles to encourage civility and reduce friction within your clubs. Now let's see how these principles might change how we address the issues that came up in our skit.
Hi, Ray. I've been out sick, and I really appreciate your taking over the planning of our annual banquet. I ran this event for 15 years. Is there anything I can help with now?
Oh, Teresa, I really appreciate your offer. Our committee's been working so hard on this, and everything is really set to go for next week and with the potluck and the barbecue.
Well, potluck, barbecue, I'm just surprised. We've been using my cousin as a caterer for years. Why the change?
Well, when our committee got together, we decided that we wanted to keep the costs down and thought that this might be a better option to just mix it up a little bit.
Well, I have a lot of dietary restrictions. I was really looking forward to my cousin's special gluten-free, lactose-free, nut-free cupcakes. They're always such a hit every year.
Well, we could always add another dessert to our menu. Do you think your cousin might be willing to make them for the event at a maybe possibly a little reduction in cost?
You know what? I know she'll be disappointed of not doing the whole event, but I'll ask her. You know what? She's committed to our mission too, and she might even give them to us for free. You know what? We can add her as a sponsor to our event. How about that?
Oh, I think that's great. We can certainly acknowledge her as one of our sponsors. And I actually hope to get a chance to meet your cousin. And maybe she would like to join our nice little friendly club.
Yeah, because ours is a great club. All right, back to reality. So maybe Ray, who's so nice, would have been accommodating, but what might have happened if I had just remained very recalcitrant in my position? What kind of things can we do? And these are just a few suggestions. Like I said, we're gonna break up into groups and all of you can discuss some of the things that maybe you've seen in your clubs. But one suggestion we have is try to resolve the issue directly with the person you're having a problem with. Avoid gossiping, backbiting, or the unnecessary involvement of other members of your club, if that's possible, and at least initially. You never know, it might blow over. And so, as an example, Ray might have said to me,
I know this event is very important. Oh, I want to be nicer, because I like to be nice. I know this event is very important to you, but we are so short on time. I'm hoping we can work on resolving some of your concerns. And maybe next year, you'll be able to be more actively involved. I showed a lot of restraint.
yeah, you know, again, she can only regulate her behavior. I may not accept that, and that's just the reality. But what happens if, I've been pretty rude to Ray. What if she's gotten really upset with me, and rightfully so? What might she do then?
Okay. If you're really hot under the collar because of your unfair treatment, oh, no, that was you.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you just say here.
I know this is important and I want to discuss this with you. Maybe we can revisit this tomorrow.
So take 5.
Give
See,
ourselves time.
Yeah, you have to understand your own emotions, and you may just have to walk away for a little while so you can, calm down, get your own emotions in check. And then another suggestion is always bring it back to the mission. Remember why we're doing all of this, and ask yourself, is this the hill I want to die on? Of course, that's going to depend on the issue. It may depend on how many people are involved. For instance, in our little skit, although they weren't here, there apparently were other committee members who were involved, who invested their time and have their own opinions on these matters. So, sometimes you do have to stand up to somebody who is being a bit of a troublemaker. For instance, in this particular skit, maybe one thing that could have been said is that, I understand your concerns, but we have a committee that's worked on this, and we really would have to take it back to the committee. And it's not that we don't appreciate your comments or your thoughts on the matter, but one, we have a short time frame, and 2, we really need to have the involvement of the entire committee. So that's one good reason to have committees.
Because you don't
So
have
it
to have
doesn't
the
come-
whole ownership. on it.
Yeah, so it's not just one person making the decision. And then last but not least, when do you escalate a problem? If you've tried to solve a problem in your club and you're still getting a lot of negativity, the first place to go is to your board or a trusted member in your club. Sometimes it is the board, that's the problem. But you try and find that one person you can go to and say, I just need to vent. I don't really want to necessarily escalate this beyond you and me, but maybe we can talk about this confidentially at this point. And sometimes it might be helpful to vent to someone outside the club. I'm sure all our husbands and partners and close friends, and sometimes you might just start the conversation with your friend. I know you can't fix this for me, but let me just vent. And they may or may not have suggestions, but sometimes, again, it's about regulating your own emotions, expectations, and just bringing you to sort of back to center. But there may be a time when you have to escalate an issue. If someone is being discriminatory based on race or religion, obviously, somebody who's completely going against the guidelines of SIA, we really have, each of us, an obligation to protect the Soroptimist brand and reputation. So someone is really stepping out beyond the bounds, then talk to your district director. Well, you may take it to your board first and then to the district level. hate to say it, but there may be times when somebody just has to be said, this isn't a good fit for you. Yeah. So there may be those issues. We hope not too often in your clubs. Because one thing I find, if you can keep bringing it back to the mission, what are we doing all this for? It's not about your egos. It's not even your cousin's catering business. Which I question if that's not a conflict of interest, depending upon the size of the contract.
Hello.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to take down our egos and remember, how many women and girls are we trying to reach by 2031? Yeah, 500,000, and we're kind of a little bit behind the curve on that. So we have more work to do, but thank you all for attending our workshop.